securely governing and scaling AI with Vertex AI and Apogee. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. In today's rapidly evolving world of artificial intelligence, organizations are moving very quickly to adopt Gen AI solutions. But as we've seen, this rapid expansion also can bring about significant challenges to businesses. And many of our customers are now asking themselves, how can we build and deploy AI applications securely and at scale, while also ensuring we meet critical data governance and compliance standards? This is obviously a major pain point, particularly for enterprises that need to manage sensitive data and meet strict regulatory environments. The risk of data breaches, non-compliance, operational disruption, that grows exponentially as you scale these efforts. And that's where today's focus comes in. Today, we'll demonstrate how Google Cloud, with the powerful combination of Vertex AI and Apogee, provides a complete solution to your business. Today, you'll see how Vertex AI empowers you to build and deploy and manage machine learning models with confidence. And then critically, you'll learn the essential role of Apogee, which provides that data governance layer, enabling capabilities like disaster recovery, access controls, high availability, and comprehensive auditing for your business. And this allows you and your business to confidently scale out those Gen AI efforts while knowing you have those safeguards in place that are necessary. Throughout the session today, we'll dive into this a lot more. We'll show you a demonstration and show you exactly how this all works. So again, thank you all for joining. Now I'm going to pass to my colleague, Christopher, who joins us from our customer engineering team. He's going to be our headliner today. Christopher, over to you.
Thank you very much, Adam. So welcome everybody to today's webcast. So today we're going to cover quite a lot. We're going to talk about LLMs and agents, talk about security, consumption management, production readiness, and also a little bit of a deep dive into AI agents, an intro and a deep dive. And then we're going to talk about agent ops. So again, how do you deploy your agents at scale, and also governance for your, excuse me, agentic AI as well. So let's get started. So LLMs, security and consumption. We need to think about security and consumption when we're accessing large language models. But first, I'd like to say that as we're accessing large language models, typically we're doing these over the SDK or over APIs. So APIs are really something that we need to think about when we're accessing large language models, which is why we say there's no AI without APIs, in fact. So, why are we here? Why are you here? I hope that, you're here because you're, worried, concerned about AI security, about you want to be able to go to production, how you can do that in a more controlled fashion. So why do enterprises typically care? So we're hearing more and more from our customers that they're asking us, how do we move to production? What about our security and governance? How do we control this? All these things that we need to, or companies need to know and implement for them to be able to go to production with their AI solutions. So here we're going to talk about how we can help, how Google Cloud can help with that. So what are the common kind of challenges we see typically at our customers? Well, first and foremost, in the red, safety and security. They want to be able to, for example, protect their data which is being sent into large language models, and also the data which is coming back, for toxicity. Obviously, they want to protect their brand, but that's only the first part of it. Obviously, when you're moving an AI solution into production, you need to think about availability, you need to think about performance, and then for your legal team and governance and logging and troubleshooting, all these things that you may have thought about in other aspects for APIs and other web applications also apply to your AI use cases as well. So we say here at Google that in order for you to have success in using Gen AI, you need to think about security. And for security, I'm going to go into how we can help you with that with Apogee and some of the other tools and products we have on GCP. Also, governance. Again, how are you going to govern your usage? How are you going to control your usage? And also, when you're actually in production, how do you operate at scale? And how are you able to continue operating at scale when things happen? But I'd like to give an example. I'd like you to meet Emma. So Emma is a kind of person that we're seeing more and more out when we're talking to customers, if you like, an AI platform lead at symbol shops. Now, the kind of challenges that she generally has is their companies that are, her company has moved their Gen AI app into a POC stage, but just kind of stuck after that, right? What do I do now? How do I go into production? How do I talk to my security team? How do I talk to my compliance team? How do I talk to my IT team, my API team? She needs to kind of move it on from that stage. So she needs to think about security. So she needs to think about malicious prompting, about sensitive data being put into the model, auditing, authorization, and authentication. Super important, because you need to understand who is actually using my model, who is actually sending requests to the large language model in the back, and are they actually allowed to do that? And are they actually allowed to send that information? So crucial for compliance and remaining compliant. So how can Google and GCP help with that? One of those is using Model Armor, which is part of our security suite. And Model Armor enables you to do sanitization and filtering of your LLM prompts and mitigate risks such as sensitive data leakage, prompt injection, things like that. And also, just the logging part of it, the logging and platform security part of it is super important. You need to know what kind of traffic is running through your agents and your large language model. And you can do this with authorization and authentication. Again, am I allowed to send this type of message? Am I allowed to talk to this model? Am I allowed to talk to this agent? So this kind of governance, super important. And that's where Apogee can help you with that. And I'll come on to that, how Apogee also serves as an AI gateway as well as an API management gateway. And Apogee, we also have something called Advanced API Security, which is, again, an AI analysis of the traffic which is running through. It's another subject in itself, but just so you know that we have that capability as well. So here's an example of how Model Armor would work. So if you imagine your agent or your application using your large language model, they may be invoking the API to ask the model to do some kind of analysis or whatever it is. So when that filters through the Apogee AI gateway, you're able to filter that message to Model Armor before it hits your large language model. And because you're able to do that, you're able to block it or filter or log. So again, Model Armor is a way for you to sanitize your prompts on the inbound, but also importantly on the outbound as well, right? What's coming back from the model, because you want to be able to have control of what's being sent back to your agent or your user or whatever your use case may be. So with regards to governance, what could be interesting with governance? So when you're starting to move into production, you need to think also about token limiting. Token is basically, the prompt that you send to your large language model. For those of you don't know, they're called tokens, all the words that are basically sent to your model. So what's interesting in the consumption is actually limiting the amount of tokens that can be sent. And the reason for that is it can, have a cost, a large cost there, which you need to be able to control, because you can basically send millions, because especially Google Gemini, we have a massive context window where you can actually send a lot of tokens to the large language model, and you may want to limit that. What we see quite often in companies is they want to limit that to different kinds of users. For example, dev teams, you're only allowed to send a certain amount over a period. And it's also what the public models do as well, but you may want to have a higher level of control yourself. Another part is maybe model routing. So, there is no one model that rules them all, even though we would like to say that in Google, but quite often companies would want to use different models and try different models for different things. And, the use case of routing to different models is also something that Apogee can help you with. The other governance topic is semantic caching. So semantic caching, for those who don't know what that means, it basically means, when you're asking the same question to a large language model in two different ways, you don't actually want to ask the model, because it costs money, So you can actually cache that response once it's already been returned to some other user. And in that way, you're able to increase the performance and reduce the costs of your LLM usage. And again, analytics helps you with governance and model failover. So just like a third-party application, your model can be a weak link in your chain. And if you have a public application in production, you want your models to be able to fail over. It could be, for example, one model provider fell over for whatever reason, and you want to fail over to another model provider in order to enable that uptime for your AI application. So semantic caching, model routing, and advanced analytics by collecting that API traffic to your large language model, super important for moving to production. So here's an example of what semantic caching might look like. So in the background, what's happening is you're actually sending that prompt to the vector search engine, and it's actually analyzing, and you can see that it's the same kind of question. It could be, for example, why is the sky blue? And then another question could be, why do you think that the sky is always blue, right? It's not, exactly the same question, but it means the same thing. Okay, on the operational side, if you're lucky enough to already go into production, then you want to know how you can productize maybe your AI solution. There's this concept called AI products, which basically means you can dice and slice your AI capabilities in something called an AI product, and enables you, for example, to split this into service tiers. So you could create your own product of AI capabilities, and then you then service this out to your different users in different tiers. It could be gold, platinum, diamond, different tiers where they have access to different kinds of large language model capabilities at different kind of rates. You want to be able to control that and enforce that. And that can be done at your API management level. And it enables you to do chargebacks as well. So especially some of our larger companies as well, they want to be able to understand, okay, now we understand the usage of our large language models. How are you actually going to charge that back to the users and the business units that are using that? And it's not going to be enough, the information you get back from your LLM vendor in theory. So you want to be able to have that level of, finer grained level of control to have those chargebacks. And you can do that when you're serving your large language models through Apigee, because you're able to count your tokens and actually see what the usage is per user or API token or application, not just user. Once you have your AI capabilities out there in production, you want to have a kind of model garden where you can share the capabilities out. And you can see here that operationalizing your AI applications with large language models, these are some of the things you need to think about. Okay, so now I'll go into a quick demo. Let's see if this one works. Just going to increase the speed here a bit. I have a lot to show you today. Okay, so this is an example of an agent. This happens to be an ADK agent run with the agent development kit. And this ADK agent is using a tool, or basically an API in the background, to search for products. And what Apigee is doing basically is filtering that call out to a third party, and it's able to apply what's called policies. And then these policies enable you to verify, for example, first of all, the API key of the user. And once they've identified the API key, then they're able to identify the usage for that particular user of that API key. So you can see I'm just getting some product information. It's running through Apigee. We're not stopping anything in Apigee, and you can see the time it takes. So the second time I call this, what I can do is I can get it from the cache. So if I'm actually asking the similar question, it will come from the cache. And instead of going to the large language model, which typically is the slower part of the chain, it can now come directly back from the semantic cache. And then you're able to get a much shorter response time for your client application, and obviously a better experience. You can see here the first request took about 8 seconds, but the second one was only 475 milliseconds. So again, making sure you have uptime and making sure you have a good performance for your users, especially when they're asking similar kind of product questions for you. So the next example here is showing where you're actually being able to block using Model Armor. So here I'm asking a question about potassium nitrate, which is how you can create some explosive devices if you had so inclined to know about chemistry to that level. And what happens is when it runs here through Apogee, you can see the chain coming in. It gets blocked there at the red. You can see it's detected that there is sensitive information, and that request will never ever come to your large language model. It will get blocked at your AI gateway entry point, and then you can choose to do whatever based on that. It could be you want to log this. You maybe just want to block it to the user. So depending on what your company would like to do at this kind of stage, then you can do that. And more examples of Model Armor you can see in the documentation is highly configurable based on your company use case. So the idea here again is model sanitation. You're protecting your model and you're protecting yourself from the model by being able to filter that information. And there are large language models in the background which are doing the magic for you. So how was EMEA, the AI architect lead, able to help move the LLM application in production? So first of all, distribution and usage limits, super important to understand. Safety and security using Model Armor was an example how you can protect against OW, ASP, API risks. You can look that up. These are LLM security risks that you need to be aware of. Latency and cost. I mentioned semantic caching. That's one way that Apogee can help you do that. Performance, again, you're able to, for example, select the model which is the most performant at the right time. So you're able to do performance routing based on the response you get back, making sure that there's always availability with the kind of scenarios like using a circuit breaker to reroute requests. What a circuit breaker means is like if the response to a large language model was too slow or errored out, it would automatically be able to go to another one, so the user would never know. So reporting, auditing, and troubleshooting, again, that's all about governance and security. Okay, so in summary, some of the things you need to be aware of how to be able to protect your large language model and move it into production: model safety, authentication, authorization. Think about having AI actually help you to do some of the analysis of the AI, of the traffic running into your AI. So if you like AI, helping AI, semantic caching, model routing, analytics. And then when you're actually moving to the next stage, you might want to even think about monetization. And that's also can be done at the AI gateway level as well. Once you understand which users are using what, you're able to charge back, as I mentioned. Okay, so that was a very quick introduction to LLM security. So I hope that's giving you a good intro. If you want to know more, then please reach out to your FSR. And now we're going to move into the AI agent space. So why are we talking about AI agents? Well, LLMs are not the whole story anymore, right? What about agents? What about MCP? What about A2A? What about tools? These are all acronyms and terms that are being floated around at the moment. And I'm sure you and your enterprises, you're wondering, how can Google Cloud help you with some of these? So let's get right into it. So first of all, we've been talking mainly about what's happening here on the right side here of the picture. This is how you can actually serve your applications through an AI gateway to your large language models. But on the left side here is kind of what we're going to talk about now. So if you're actually building an agent, typically you're going to be using large language models, but also you want to understand, how can I start to secure my agent Who is the user who is using my agent? Maybe I want to sanitize that request as well through Cloud Armor. Maybe I should log that so that the compliance and security guys know what's happening. Maybe even I need to talk to a integration platform to talk to my enterprise systems. How would I do that? So let's go into how GCP can help you with some of these aspects. So first of all, an introduction. So where are we with AI agents? Right. So a couple of years ago we were talking about large language models and prompting. I'm sure lots of us are still doing that. Certainly those in the general public. Then we moved to next stage. Next stage was RAG, right? We're able to retrieve some other information from somewhere at runtime to make our large language model more up to date. Because of course, a large language model is typically trained on information which it didn't happen today. And then the next stage was actually, how do you do something about it? So the way you get real business value out of using a large language model and Gen AI is actually if you can do something about it, right? It's no good having a conversational agent that you talk to and to try and solve your problem, but doesn't actually do anything in the end, right? So actions, super important to actually get real business value out of your AI agent solutions. And then the next stage was really more advanced actions, if you like, and reasoning. So then the AI was doing more reasoning on the information which was fed to it, either from the large language model itself or maybe some real-time information in your enterprise systems. It's able to understand all these different aspects or different informations and reason and come with a solution to do something. Right, that's a reasoning agent, if you like. That's kind of where we are now, or where everyone wants to be now. And then even the next stage is agents talking to other agents. So this is where how does an agent communicate with another agent? How would they do that securely? Here we're talking about A2A. I'll come on to that in a minute. So I mentioned there's no AI without APIs because, well, the way you talk to a large language model is over APIs, and we've been working with APIs for a couple of decades now. So really, what I'm trying to say here is you need to be able to manage that access, and because we've been doing that for years with Apogee, we're able to help you with our API management platform. But if I just roll back a second and think, let's stop for a second and think, what actually is an AI agent, right? What is an agent? Because let's face it, not everybody kind of agrees on actually what this is, or maybe understands this, and it's really very simple. So I just want to create a very quick intro here. So you may hear out there probabilistic, deterministic, right? What it basically means is, is there AI deciding to do something or not? If you grow up in the last couple of decades, if you're Generation X or before, you were maybe building, Visio flows or that kind of thing. So a deterministic workflow is basically, a flow which is static, based on rules, and that doesn't change. But probabilistic is more like, you're letting the AI decide some information, because the AI has the intelligence to be able to understand, make decisions based on the data which has been given to it. And obviously you need to give it guardrails. But it's basically a way to automate and have AI injected in there to do some of the automation at runtime, and that what makes it so much powerful. And then when you're able to have agents talking to other agents and agents talking to your enterprise data, talking to your other business processes, that's when it starts to get really, really exciting, and that you can really have an automated agent that's able to save time and money on some mundane processes that you want to automate, so you can push your resources into a much more innovation areas in your business. Okay, so I said for LLMs, you need to think about security, governance, and operations, and you also need to think about actions also for agents, because agents, as I said before, typically they get information, but they also need to do something about it as well. So Google provides an end-to-end stack for helping you build agents, and there's a very large I could talk about the possibilities of what you can do on the GCP platform with agents, but we're going to give you just a bit of a quick summary here today. So we basically have an end-to-end stack which enables you to deploy, to run, to observe, to evaluate, to consume your different models, to deploy your agents. And also, as I mentioned before, when agents need to talk to different agents, we call this, agent-to-agent protocol. And how do you actually get the data and real-time data and run actions? Well, that's where the tooling comes in, and we have ways for you to create tools and consume those in your agents as well. And that's not even mentioning Agent Space, which is our flagship application for consuming agents and having your agents run in a really a business UI in an agent-to-agent fashion. I have a quick demo of that I will show you in a little bit. Okay, so the agent platform, what kind of agents can I build on GCP? Well, one example is maybe conversational agents. So conversational agents are part of our CC stack. And the reason we have different ways to create agents, so one of those is maybe it's not always the IT team that are building agents. Maybe it's a line of business, maybe you don't have any developers. You want to be able to build agents and get access to your enterprise data and automate your business processes, but you want a point-and-click way of doing that. So using what's called conversational agents inside GCP, you're able to create these conversational agents just by providing instructions, natural language instructions to instruct the agent what to do. And again, very powerful. I'll show you an example of that in a second. It can, for example, have access to to different APIs and tools, or it could even have access to information you want to load into the storage. Super powerful. The other is Agent Designer with Agent Development Kit, and this is a pretty big topic, but Google has this open source, the Agent Development Kit, which is basically a very powerful way to build an agent in very few lines of code, and you're able to have very complex and sophisticated agents that can be deployed on Agent Space or Agent Engine, and then talking to multiple systems as well. This is more of a code system or a code way of developing agents. And ultimately, you can actually deploy all of these on Agent Space, right? So Agent Space is an amazing way for you to do search across your enterprise data, but it's also a place for you to have all your different agents, so your agents can collaborate, if you like. So Agent Engine, again, is not just somewhere to run it. Also, it's something which has been created especially to build agents. For example, it manages your sessions between agents and users. It has a memory bank. So again, super important for building agents and consuming large language models. You need to actually have a session memory to be able to send back to the large language model to keep the conversation live, if you like. So yeah. So I mentioned also the A2A protocol, which is something that Google has created in collaboration with a lot of our partners. So the A2A protocol is supported fully by the ADK Agent Development Kit. It's a way for you to be able to agents to communicate with each other in a secure and performant fashion. How would you integrate your agents with your enterprise data workflows and tools? So I mentioned that it's super important for you to be able to access your enterprise data, because the value of these agents is when it can access your historical enterprise data, but also your real-time enterprise data. So how could you do that using GCP? So we provide different tools for you to enable you to access that. One of those is using Apogee. So Apogee, again, I mentioned, can be used as an AI gateway to protect your large language model. but also it's where you can actually have your APIs that access other resources as well. And we put these in a repository called the Apigee API Hub. And from there, they can be easily consumed with agent development kits and basically shared with your developers for building their agents. So an example I showed you just before was where there was an API showing some product information. Here that was consumed by the ADK tool to get that product information. But what about some other data maybe which is on premise? So typically all enterprise I talk to, they maybe have some SaaS systems, but they also have some other systems maybe on premise as well. I mean, how would they even connect to that data and make their agent available to contact those applications? Well, that's where pre-built connectors come in, and we have application integration connectors which enable you to connect to these systems. So we have hundreds of these connectors to connect to databases, third-party SaaS systems like Salesforce, all designed for you to be able to connect to these systems efficiently, not have to worry about how do you authenticate, and not have to rebuild that code every time you build an agent, because the people who are building the agents, they don't care about how do I connect to Salesforce or SAP or whatever system it may be. They just want to have an easy way to connect to these systems. And using integration connectors, you can do this directly in the ADK agents. And also the application integration agents, because it's also possible to build agentic workflows in application integration, which is our integration platform as a service, or iPaaS, which enables you to build agentic workflows and also talk to AI as well. And I've got an example, I'll show you that as well. And the last one obviously is like enterprise search and also agent space. So you're able to load information into the GCP stores and have this available to your agents also at runtime. So again, another complicated topic on its own, but just so you know that there's kind of two different ways to access data. And maybe you want to load an index, a ton of data, and have that all available for your agents, or it maybe you just want to be able to connect that to get real-time information on product status or whatever it may be, and lots of tools I mentioned here that enable you to do that. Okay, so here's an example of what an agent conceptually might look like at a higher level when you're building an agent. So I mentioned like what is an agent, right? An agent is a way for you to automate a business process with having AI in there to be able to decide certain things. Here you can see on the right hand side what could be an agent. An agent could be started, for example, by a chat message on Slack, or it could be somebody calls an API. It could also be a scheduled way to start an AI agent flow. That the AI agent then needs to get some information from some different sources. It could be on GCP, on third party. Maybe it goes to a vector store to get loaded information, and then the magic happens, right? Then Vertex AI or whatever large language model you're using can then use this information to create decisions or even generate stuff, right? So we're in the age of Gen AI. So if you want to, for example, generate some HTML to send an email to a vendor or a customer, that all can be done on the fly in your AI agent, being helped by large language models, and that content can then be sent. Maybe you want to approve that expense report, or maybe you want to send an email to somebody as well. So that's like real business value in motion. So you can almost take a BPMN business process and map that to an agent. For those who BPM business process is just like a business process mapped in a diagram. So AI agents able to automate some of these processes for you with the help of AI, and also you need to obviously connect to different systems. So here's also an example of how you can do this with application integration. So here is an AI agent built inside application integration. Here you can see this is the top part is a business flow where I'm basically starting the flow. I'm getting some business information. I'm mapping the business information, and then I'm actually calling a reusable asset in Vertex AI to actually call the large language model to do the magic, right? To understand, is my business process valid or not? And then I'm actually sending the result to an approver as an email, right? So again, an automated process supercharged with AI and large language models. And because you're running it in application integration, you also have the ability to have all the controls on that as well. To for example, to control what's being sent to the large language model with regards to temperature and things like that. So agents. I mentioned that agents need tools to autonomously accomplish essential tasks, right? We need to connect to these different applications to get that information. Otherwise, we can't perform these actions and provide real business value for our business. And here's a sketch I just did for a customer recently. It's a lot of busy on here. There's a lot of busy information on here. But if you think about your agent here in the middle, for example, ADK or in application integration, you have an agent which needs to connect to some enterprise data. You have different APIs which you maybe want to put on your iPaaS. For us, we have application integration or Apogee. So your agent can then talk to these different APIs to get the information it needs. And then the agent can also be exposed on, for example, a chatbot, a conversational chatbot, or even just as an API to a different business unit who may want to perform some automation with an agent. What we haven't talked in a lot today is also about MCP. So Apogee is also coming up as MCP support very soon as well. And what's that going to enable you to do is to actually encapsulate some of these APIs or business capabilities from your business by using application integration to connect to your systems, and then show this to your agent in one big package, if you like, an MCP server, which then has the ability to use all these different capabilities. So to watch this space coming up soon. I also mentioned Model Armor. So again, you can see here where Model Armor can do the filtering. So okay, so we didn't talk that much yet about agent space. So agent space, what is agent space? Agent space is a way for you to really, if you like, reimagine how your work gets done on a daily basis. So at Google, we're using this internally as well, like we do with most of our products, to increase our productivity on a daily basis. And it enables you to basically access AI because if you like, your agent space is almost like a super agent. Sounds a bit corny, but it basically like an agent which has access to your enterprise data, your enterprise system with different connectors. So again, super powerful. But what it also is a space for you to have other agents as well. So these agents that I mentioned before, that enterprise agents, these business agents that you create, not only can they be deployed on Agent Engine and used somewhere else, but you can also register them in agent space. And then this main agent can talk to these other agents to get work done, right? So I just want to show you an example of the art of the possible. This is a video I created. Now, what you're going to see here is a demo of like a business process running inside a Google agent space, and it's actually multiple agents talking to each other, which is the interesting part. There's an agent in here that is actually talking to Confluence, talking to Jira, talking to Salesforce, and also it's also a mix of different kinds of agents. So there's an ADK agent, so an agent development kit agent built in code. There's also a conversational agent made by point and click, and there's also another agent for helping to view images. So let's play this one. I hope you enjoy this one.
With Google Agent Space, you can extend the out-of-the-box agents with powerful custom agents that enable your employees to achieve new levels of productivity with AI automation. With just natural conversation, the agent can access information from your company's unique knowledge base, like finding the perfect muscle car from an extensive, real-time inventory. But this is where it gets truly powerful. Through the power of application integration, the agent isn't just reciting facts. It's connecting directly to your core business systems using an easy-to-use no-code integration and connectors platform. It knows the price, the specifications, and even your company's sales rules, like knowing this rare vehicle has a fixed price. This creates deterministic, repeatable workflows you can trust. The agent can guide a customer through a complete, multi-step transaction, from adding accessories to confirming the purchase and shipping details, generating a real order in an enterprise system. This isn't a simulation, it's an example of a secure, automated process that could accelerate your business. And these agents can do more than just talk. By using integrated tools, they can retrieve documents, generate reports, or even pull up an image of a product on demand, take real-time actions via agent tools, creating a richer, more efficient user and customer experience. The true return on investment comes from unifying your enterprise. Imagine seamlessly switching from a sales conversation to a project management query. With application integration, the very same agent can securely access a completely different enterprise systems, like Jira, to instantly pull up the latest project tickets and take custom actions on your own enterprise data. And it doesn't stop there. In the same conversation, you can pivot again and ask for the latest customer accounts created in Salesforce. The agent retrieves the exact information you need, instantly, in real time. This eliminates the time wasted logging in and out of different platforms, breaking down data silos, and taking real-time actions. Google Agent Space, with custom agents powered by application integration tools and connectors, transforms how your business works. It delivers a single multimodal interface to all of your critical business systems, allowing employees to make real-time actions catalyzed by AI, streamlining operations, accelerating decision-making, and unlocking the true value of your enterprise data in real time.
Okay, hope you enjoyed that one. So again, agent space with different custom agents running in there, using Apogee, using app integration, using application connectors to connect to some of these third-party systems. So think about your business, think about the art of the possible, that kind of automation. The possibilities are endless, I think. Okay, so let's talk a bit about agent ops, right? What is agent ops? So, we can build some stuff. They're great, they're automated agents, but we also, just like the operations of using large language models, we need to think about the operations of agents as well. So, how can GCP help you in the life cycle of agents? So I mentioned we have an end-to-end stack to enable you to do this. You can deploy your agents in Agent Space. You can deploy them in and on Agent Engine as well, and then have them surfaced maybe somewhere else. So the example that I showed you before of the application integration agent, that was an agent running an application integration, but you can build an ADK agent and deploy that to Agent Engine as well. So again, and the reason we talk about different kind of agents is because Google wants to be very agnostic to what you want to use, what kind of agent. You may have a lang chain, a lang graph in your company. You may want to use Crew AI. You might want to test all different ways to build agents to see what works best for you and your own dev teams. So, we make it available we make the Agent Engine available for you to deploy different frameworks there to see what works best for you. But we obviously focus a lot on the Agent Development Kit and make it easier and easier for you to integrate to different systems, like I said, by allowing you to use application integration and Apogee to plug into your existing APIs and connect to third-party systems in an easy fashion without having you to code all that in Python, because we don't want to be making the same mistakes we've been making for the last 20 years on integration and building point to point, right? Okay, so how can we help with observability? So what are the things you need to think about? You need to think about, for example, LLM calls. How do you track those prompts? How do you control them? We covered that a lot today. You also want to understand how you're using your tools. Again, when you're passing your traffic through Apogee and logging that, you're able to control your tool usage on the back and also the front of your agent as well. So agent memory, very, very important as well, to be able to your agent to actually have a memory of the conversation. We're not back like where we were, 2 years ago when we were just sending requests to the large language model. We actually want we want our large language model to understand and remember what we said 5 minutes ago, to have a conversation, if you like. And for an agent's usability, that's also important as well. Cost tracking, safety and governance, we covered model armor and being able to monitor access control, your LLM usage and also your agent usage. The same thing applies to agents as it does to consuming large language models. You need to know, who the user is, and you need to be able to control what access that user has, because there are many different systems in the background that your agent may have access to, and you want to be able to control what and how these resources are accessed. For example, you may want a specific user only to be able to create a Jira ticket in a certain topic, or maybe only you want a specific user to see their own opportunities in Salesforce or some custom database. Whatever it is, you need to have that control, and that's where you can GCP can help you with tools like Apogee and app integration. So monitoring, that speaks for itself. The tool registry, I mentioned, you should have a standard place for you to have all your tools so they can be easily consumed, whether they're consumed by MCP servers or just as API tools. They should be in one place. Here we have the Apogee API hub where you can register all your tools and even third-party tools so they can be easily consumed by your agents. Authentication, again, Apogee AI Gateway enable you to manage credentials for your agents. Typically, a lot of agents don't really manage security properly, and you need to have that on top, right? Deployment infrastructure. So obviously GCP, we have our own platform. For that, there are also lots of other capabilities on the GCP platform to help you build agents as well. Not just what I've talked about today, to build custom code or whatever it is you need to do. Again, an API gateway. So that's where Apogee can help you with the API gateway aspect and also AI gateway aspect as well. Cost management and optimization. So I mentioned budgeting. You obviously want to manage your usage. As I mentioned, a lot of companies that's where they want to start. They want to know how is it being used. They want to control how it's used. Model selection, again, the same thing as using large language models just as an application. You want to be able to dynamically route to the large language model that you want to use at that particular point in time. But also, how you manage the CI/CD, the automating of the whole release cycle. So obviously GCP has tools to help you do that on the platform as well. Okay, so let's move briefly or lastly into agentic AI governance. Now, some of these terms have come up quite a lot, and you're thinking about, I mentioned A2A, MCP, APIs, AI gateway. You need to be able to manage all of these different resources which are available to your agents, and this is actually where Apogee can help you with this, with helping to secure your MCP servers, whether they're on Apogee or even somewhere on a third party. If you spin up your own MCP server with fast MCP, you can basically push the traffic through Apogee as well to enable you to apply policies and manage the traffic and manage the security of your MCP servers, if you like, making them more secure for authorization authentication. I mentioned API tooling as well. So yeah. So API Hub, I mentioned that it's a central repository to have your API specifications. So if you have already existing APIs in some third-party infrastructure, whether it's on Apogee or not, you can have them registered here and then consume those into your agents in a much more code-easy fashion. Because from, for example, the agent development kit, you're able to find out what APIs have been registered inside API Hub, and then make that available to your agent so your agent knows what capabilities are out there for it to solve its problem. So this is seamless integration in ADK. It's like 6 lines of code, you can see. Here's an example of how you may do this. And this is similar for example, consuming an integration inside application integration, our iPaaS. So if you build a flow in our iPaaS, you can consume this in an ADK agent like this, just with 6 lines of code. And you're basically saying to the agent, you know, here's the API, you can use it, and the agent will automatically read the OpenAI API specification of this agent and already understand what it can do and how it should invoke it. Another interesting thing we have in the pipeline is something called Spec Boost. This is currently in private preview. And what this is basically a way for you to, or your companies to, use existing API specifications that are maybe not, or APIs which are not quite there good enough yet. And what this enables you to do is what Spec Boost does. It analyzes the API traffic on that particular API, and it actually makes the API better. How does it make it better? Well, what happens is because it analyzes the traffic or the data kind of going through, it can actually, if there isn't an open API specification, which is an open API specification is a way for you to describe how an API works. If that's not very good, and the reason it may not be very good is because historically a lot of APIs are built from the bottom up. They may not even have a specification of what they do. And Spec Boost actually analyzes the traffic and dynamically creates a way for the, or creates a specification for that particular API. Now, why is that important? It's important because as your agent consumes that API, it needs to understand, how can I call that API? What data is going to come back? Because, you know, it needs to have, if you like, have a dynamic way to understand, is this an orders API? Do I need to send in an ID to the API? What kind of data will I get back? You know, so again, an automated way for you to improve your existing specifications if they haven't been made, you know, perfectly from day one. Okay, so that was a lot we covered today. I hope it was insightful. So please, if you would like to learn more, please scan the QR code there, or you can contact us directly at apogee-contact-us@google.com, or speak to your customer engineer, speak to your FSR. So again, lots of concepts, a lot of things to understand. I hope it's really got you excited about agents and using Gen AI at scale and moving to the next stage. Again, it's not an easy thing to move from that POC stage to production. It's not an easy thing to build an agent from scratch either. And what Google is really trying to help you to do is make you do that quicker, faster, and more secure. So thanks very much for today. And please reach out to the Google team, your local Google team, or some of these contacts here, and learn more about how we can help you further.